Okay, the screen's not showing up very well for the YouTube, but
as long as you're showing up, we're all set.
Everybody will be. I mean, the sound is still on, so it's no worse than a teleconference. So let me start the tape recorder. Okay, we are good. Want me to take attendance?
Okay, we're also recording this on the cloud. So, all set, Ally?
Yeah, you want me to take attendance?
That would be a beautiful thing.
Okay, Craig Leggett.
Here.
Mike Little.
Here.
Brian Campbell.
Here.
Jenny Sullivan.
Here.
Mike Wild.
I am here.
Dan Bruno.
Here.
Bruce Ferguson.
I'm here.
Nick Caimano.
Here.
Dave O'Brien.
Here.
Okay, Kara, Lester, Jack, I see you're here. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if Bruce, I can unmute Bruce. I switched over to the phone. I'm here. Okay. Okay. Good.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, we're all set, I think. Okay. First order of business, we have a quorum. First order of business is to a motion to approve the minutes of April 20th, 2020 IDA board meeting.
Make that motion.
I'll second. Craig Leggett.
Right.
Any omissions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No much.
Okay, do I need to do roll call? Is it different because it's Zoom?
As long as you got to record it, you don't have to.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, Mr. Land.
I was wondering if I might make a suggestion to the group.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike Wild.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just looking to make a suggestion. I'm hearing an echo. And if everyone could go on mute, there's a little button on the left, bottom left. Yeah. On mute, you may get rid of that echo. Where is the mute? It's probably right next to the cocktail you have with your cigar, Nick. Bottom left.
I don't see anything on bottom left on mine.
On the right.
Cursor down
Right.
there.
It's on his iPad.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, is that better?
It's better for me. Thank you.
Much better.
Okay.
Actually, it might be Bruce. If he's got two.
Bruce, can you mute your? Okay. Thanks. So first order of business is accounts payable. We have our accounts payable. Do we have any questions on that? Any questions?
I'll move it, Dave.
Motion by Brian to approve it.
I'll second.
Second by Nick.
Question.
Yes, Craig.
The bulk of the payments for the attorneys, is that related to the clean energy park, to the dewatering facility?
Actually, yes, and the money is all the way from, there's some billings that started back in January that Kara is just billing.
Okay.
So that's for over a 3-month period of time. A little bit later, I have an analysis of what we spent to date and what the projections are we need to spend to date. So we'll cover that in more detail after we get through this.
Sounds good.
Okay. You notice there is a 2880, the balance for the acquisition of that little triangle piece.
Yeah.
Included there. Any other questions? Motion to approve the accounts payable.
I think you got it.
Brian and Nick did already.
It's called a vote.
Who was the motion? Oh, we need to call a vote. Yes, we need a roll call on this one, please.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Michael Biddle, Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Ginny Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Dan Bruno,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. Any opposed? Yeah, I guess that was it. So I guess we have two that sort of abstained.
Okay.
For not being able to get the unmute stuff done. Okay. I would like to share my screen as long as the question was asked. I want to go back to what we spent to date and what we have coming up here. I'm going to try and share my screen. And can people see that, or do I need to blow it up a little bit more?
I can see it. I can see it.
This is what we spent today.
Dave, it would be easier if you blew it up a little bit, though.
Really asking me to do something that I'm hoping I can do.
You're a man of many talents, David.
I know, but
Bottom right-hand corner of the spreadsheet.
That'll work. Thank you.
okay, bottom right corner view.
Of the spreadsheet itself. Okay.
Oh, down here. Okay, I see it. I see it. I see it. I never have to use that one before.
Yeah. Well, move it to your right. Your left or something, right? There you go.
Okay. So CT Mill, there was the $4,500 for the phase one.
Yep.
For FMBF for legal in January, which is really December. That's a January bill was 1984. FMBF was legal in February is 1,056. March was 1872. April was 1938. And in May, 6720, but that's a catch-all. And Kara, I asked Kara about this, and she said we are up to date. She made up all the past billings, so she made it up all at once. Kara, do you want to explain that, please?
Yeah, it was an error on my part. I had put some entries on the WL Plastics file that were really attributable to IDA expenses relative to the purchase. So I went through that invoice and I moved over to the IDA's invoice the expenses that I thought would likely be borne by the IDA as opposed to WL Plastics counts payment at the closing.
I'm in the process of reviewing those to make sure we both agree, and hopefully get to it this week sometime. I believe it's a typo, and that's the sales price, Dave, at the bottom. No, there is a typo. It's Kale's price, yes. That's supposed to be the sales, right? It's supposed to be the sales. Hey, there we go. That's the sales price. Private's been paid, be paid in June. Still remaining is the $1,500 for the survey for Van Dusen. Secondly is the appraisal cost for the entire road facility. For Lock 8 Way is $1,400. That's the appraisal from Canal Corp. And then sales price. So those are upcoming. That will get us to $27,570. The $10,000 we're going to spend on a little piece of property was a surprise, something we didn't anticipate. If you remember, the board approved up to $30,000. If I look through and get up here, we will have some closing costs as we agreed. If we acquire that balance of the property, that we agreed we'd cover the closing costs reported at LPDC of an estimate of $1,000. And I came up with an estimate of remaining balance for legal costs is about $10,000. Karen, what do you think?
I think that's a fair estimate. At this point, from the IDA's perspective, we really just have the bulk of the closing work to do now. title is in the works. We've reviewed most of the documents at this point, with the exception of a deed from Port Edward LPDC. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. And then the balance of our work will be preparing the closing documents for the WL Plastics portion of the transaction.
So just as a reminder, from WL, we'll be getting a check for $50,000 plus whatever CARES legal fees are. So I will need authorization to raise that amount to probably, if we look at it, is somewhere around 45,000. So I need a motion to do that. So at least on this transaction, we will break even.
Okay, I'll move it.
By Nick, do I have a second?
Michael Biddle, second.
Michael Biddle seconds. To clarify, we'll cover a little bit later, there is some work to do on easement for the road for WL Plastics and for WCC. I spoke to Canal Corp today. We'll be doing a license agreement for them to use the road, and we'll see what happens on that, and anyone else that needs to be put in place. So looking at that. Okay. So any other questions on that? I got the sharing done. How was that?
Very good.
Digging up for you. So park business, Jack and Brian?
Dave, did you need a motion at this time for that from 30 to 45,000?
Yes. I thought we had a motion a second.
We did.
Nick and
We
Mike
had a
already.
motion. I made the motion. Yeah, Craig. Need a second.
Little seconded it.
So do we need a vote?
We need a roll call on this one, please, Ally.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Michael Biddle,
Yes.
Brian Gamble,
Yes.
Jenny Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Absolutely, yes.
Dan Bruno,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. Sorry I got out of order, but motion carried. Park business. Matt or Brian and Jack, having to report?
Good afternoon, everyone. As it relates to the agenda itself, we no longer have anyone interested in Lot 3. At the last meeting, we reported that the company, the pipe company or pipe installation company, had taken and has an interest in doing something over in the main part of the park, where the road turns across the street from the shavings company. Unfortunately, the day that that the chairman and myself had a conference call with the owner and their real estate person, the virus had just taken off, and they were in a process of re-evaluating what they're planning to do. As it relates to the solar company, I had reported, or I had called last week Jeff Brown and told him that we were having a meeting, and I'd like to have an update as to where they stood. And I got a text message this morning, said we'll have an answer later today. Our attorney has been overwhelmed with our new partnership formation and had a lot of pushback to your points. I think he knew we had a 4 o'clock meeting today, so maybe I'll get something in before the end of the day, but that's all I know. There is a second solar company that would like to do something in the park, and they've indicated they have 2 or 3 other potential sites in Washington County. And in talking with the chairman, I called their consultant, and we're in the process of setting up an initial telephone conference call to learn more about what it is that they want to do. So that's basically what we have going as it relates to the park.
Anything else input, Brian?
No, sounds like there's not a lot happening. Thank God we got the old WL plastics when we did.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. So, everything we sort of had going in the first year sort of been put on hold by everyone. And if we come out of this, when we come out of this, we'll see what interest is generated. But I will say that looking at the activity, I don't think we'll have much coming this year to close. We may have one or two, but, we really need some others to come in. So, okay, any questions? Move to pilot billing update. Allie.
There were two that were outstanding for the special district, town and county, and I did get the bulk of the pay. I was waiting on the late fees. Both of them were just shy of the late fee. I did receive a late fee for one of the projects, so that will be paid by the end of the month. I'm just waiting for someone to sign the check so I can pay them, but that just leaves one project outstanding at this point.
Okay. Any questions? And then we move on to recapture update, which is still in Allie's and Kara's standpoint.
Okay, well, we finally received all the information that we'd requested from the two outstanding companies, or the two outstanding projects. So those were Patty Company and Morris Products. And based on the information that they submitted, all of their ST60s, they are in fact over by about $100,000. The other outstanding project was the Price Chopper in Warrensburg, or LG Plaza, and we've received all those ST340s. Price Chopper reported as being under, and LG Plaza reported as being over by about $38,000. So we discussed this at the executive committee, and the executive committee decided that we will send out a letter to the companies advising them of our review, advising them of the recapture policy in which General Municipal Law 875 requires, and indicating that if we don't hear back from them with any revised figures, we'll assume that these are correct and we'll proceed with the recapture process. But the executive committee thought it would be in everybody's best interest to be sure that these numbers are accurate and there were no errors in their reporting.
Mr. Chairman? That's great. Thank you. And Kara, did you say at the last meeting where this is the responsibility of the applicant with the state at this point in time? Once all these reportings are done, we, the IDA, are not necessarily involved in handling the discrepancies or differences, are we?
Well, at this point you are. So since they've reported as being over, unless there's an error in their reporting and they want to file an amended ST340, General Municipal Law 875 says that recapture is mandatory. So you would then they assume that if they say that they're not willing to pay the amount of the excess for whatever reason, then you would submit your forms with New York State indicating that you've commenced recapture. They've had an opportunity to pay over X, whatever the dollar amount is. If they provided zero, then that's what you would report to New York State, that they provided zero. And then Tax and Finance has the ability to take it from there.
Okay, so from there they take it. Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for Kara? Okay, next. Dewatering facility update. Well, it's been interesting. I think that a lot of things are getting down to the end. I think that there are several items of business that we're still working on. First of all, the deed for the access road, it was overnighted down to Washington for final signature. We're hoping that we'll get that completed and back this week. So that'll be good to get that done. Second is I just got the deed for that little piece of triangle land today. And there were some couple questions we had on it. We're going back for clarifications on that. But all in all, looks pretty good. The one thing we have, if we talked about an easement, if we take the easement out, it'd probably take forever to get it done. So but the easement was about water going over the road there. So that's one thing that we're looking at, getting a little more definition on it. We are talking to WL about easements, a permanent easement to the road. We are discussing the terms. They had their first pass, we had our first pass, and we need to come to some agreement on it. They had some terms that we probably cannot accept. And as soon as I get that easement ready to go, and WCC will be on that easement, I will share that for people to review and comment before we finally accept it in terms of that. So hopefully that will go fairly smoothly. We're waiting for a call back from their attorneys. I know they are busy working with Fort Edna LPDC on some of the negotiations for the finalizing the contract and purchase agreement. One that's still outstanding is discussion of the SMS rail agreement. We need to get some clarification between the SMS agreement and how all the parties fit in. As Carol pointed out today, there's probably three parties involved. One party is, of course, the IDA. The second party would be WCC. And the third party may or may not be WL, depending on how their agreement with the rail is structured with SMS. So those things put in place. That one to me is a pretty important one. I think that there is ability to get some money to contribute to the expenses of the dewatering facility to cover those. So that's pretty important to me. Getting terms for the easement is pretty important to me. They're acceptable to the IDA. So those two things are probably the major things we have in place. I did have a discussion with Canal Corp today about potentially, if we built the bridge, is that we asked about access through their facility down by the wharf and up through an East Street so that we'd have a second point of egress. They were accepting of it. They thought we were just a little bit early, but I think we have to talk about about that because probably WL will ask if there's any provisions for that. So we are trying to make sure that we cover the bases beforehand. I need to talk to their real estate person to talk about a license. They were pretty full accepting of it. We also have to give them a license agreement to come down Route 196 and come down the access road. I think that, and Carrie has to look this up for me. I think that according to one thing they said, I'm not sure we can keep them off that road no matter what. I think New York State would probably preempt us or override us if we tried to stop them from going across our road. Is that somewhat my understanding, Kara? Is that true, false, ugly?
Who going over the road?
Canal Corp having access through the access road in their facility.
Yeah, I think they would have some rights for access regardless.
But we didn't give them a license, they'd have the access.
Yeah, I mean, I have to have an ability to get to their property there.
Well, we're expecting to get quid pro quo, if I could say that, on the other end. I think we ought to be willing to work with them, and the other partners should be willing to work with them also. because it's going to give an emergency exit plus the ability to use that. Fort Edward Village was on the phone too. They talked about potentially having access through that to East Street, but that's a more complicated discussion that I wasn't ready to have today, nor will they, but they sort of talked about it a little bit, and they didn't say no. They said maybe it's a little premature to talk about that. So we'll see what other pieces of the pie take place. Did I forget anything I had covered besides the subdivision, Kara? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. That's our current hot topics right now.
Any questions on what I've covered today? Okay. Subdivision, we had a meeting last Wednesday with the planning board of both village and town of Fort Edward to start the subdivision. I think Lester was on the call, Kara was on the call, I was on the call, and I think we're proceeding. They had some questions. We were surprised because they started WL's application at the same time. I was surprised they had more questions about the road than they did about the facility there, the WL's building, but I think it's because they had two other presentations earlier in last year, so they probably up to stuff with a lot of the information, even though it was final there. But it sounds like, from our standpoint, that hopefully they'll be done by the middle of June, which would clear the closing date of June 30th, we hope. That would take care of all the parcels and everything else like that. I did send you a copy of the maintenance agreement with Fort Edward. And basically the license agreement with Fort Edward says that they will maintain the road from the corner of the facility, past those buildings, all the way up to Fort Edward boundary, the Kingsbury Fort Edward boundary. They will take care of it because we're going to sign the road over to it. They will take care of the maintenance costs on their dime. We hope to transfer that part of the road probably summer, early fall, to get that to them so they can be able to get CHIPS money on it. That 0.6, the agreement also carries that 0.6 miles that's in Kingsbury, is that Fort Edward will plow that road for us at a cost of I think it's about roughly $3,100 a year, which will be prorated between the tenants and the IDA, so it'd be about $1,000 a piece. If we get any other tenants in there, we'll spread that cost a little bit farther. Within our easements, or separate, it hasn't been finally decided yet. We also build in maintenance costs for the rest of the road, such as paving, filling potholes, any other maintenance that has to be done. And that will be prorated among the parties that sign the maintenance or combined easement maintenance agreement. So I know I sent out that license agreement, or that maintenance agreement with Fort Edward. Did y'all have a chance to review that? Any questions on the maintenance agreement? I think it's pretty straightforward. So, and again, with the opposition, with the easements and everything, I'll make sure that we cover that with you before we sign it, so it's agreeable to the board. I think sometimes they forget that even though we're state authority, we still have to get board approval of doing things. I think they have a little disconnect. We'll fix that. So we do have leverage because we'll own the road. Any questions on what we covered so far? We're all quiet today. Must be all excited. We're going to try and open pretty soon.
We're on mute.
I think you know how to get it undone now. You didn't about 10 minutes ago. Sales and marketing, we need to talk about that. Not today, but next meeting we're going to talk about it because we're going to have to get some serious marketing going. We covered how much we spent so far. Benefit is that even though we're getting another subject, even though we're getting the balance of facility for free, or being gifted, and the road gifted, I talked to the accountant. We can add those we can add the appraised value to our assets. So as soon as we get those numbers and get it closed, we'll add that to our assets. So our assets will look better. The cost for acquiring the property and the property itself will be capitalized. So we'll have less of an effect on our balance sheet. I did send out the current assessed value, what the new assessed value for the properties will be. For the Fort Edward LPDC property, which we're talking about acquiring, the village was $1.1 million and the town was 1.45. After the adjustments of the substation and some additional land, the Fort Edward LPDC is now $910,000 and the town share is $1.4 million. So even though we won't be paying taxes on it, we will be able to use that as assessed value. So, okay. Any questions?
What was the total? What was the total on that? The total assessment, Dave?
So the total assessment for combined properties is $2.65 million for the village and 4.95 for the town. Our share would be $910,000, and the town would be $1.43 million.
Okay.
So roughly 2.3, 400. If it's trying to extrapolate the cost we're paying for that little piece of property, I think we'll probably have about $750,000 in the road too. So we'll see. Thanks, Mary Webb.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Nick.
we do a lot of numbers have been banged around here since we started the meeting. I assume you and Lester and Ally are keeping track, and we're not overboard anywhere yet.
Not overboard yet.
Okay, thank you.
I think that out of this, I think that our challenge this year will be our normal expenses. I think we'll have covered all expenses for the WL in this, but I think our cost for the year, unless we get some more business in, is going to be challenging. This is the first year, like I said, we had some things going on, all of a sudden they went away. But it's not under control. We'll see what we can save throughout this process. New business. After paying the rent after this meeting for the past 10 years, Hoffman Associates requested that we make one payment. So we're now paying on the first of the month. So that means a catch up of $600 for May, and then our normal rent will be due. So they're just asking me to catch up so they get their payment on June 1st. I don't know what the reason for it is. I think Ally talked to them, and I'm sure they gave me any explanation, but for a couple months they've been calling us asking where our payment is, forgetting that we usually pay around the 20th or whenever after our meeting is done. So they're requesting to catch that up. Is that accurate, Ally?
Yes, Suzanne sent me an email requesting that we start paying at the first of the month. Normally, like for instance, what you see in your payables, the $600 on the agenda is for the May payment. So technically, we've rented for the first 3 weeks without payment. And what they want to do is they want to get paid prior to our month of rental. And so basically what we would have to do is obviously pay the $600 tomorrow after the since you guys approved it, and then another one June 1st prior to board approval, obviously, because we don't have another board meeting until later on in June. So I guess what we're asking for is for you all to kind of have a blanket approval that we pay the $600 the first of every month to Hoffman, because all of a sudden they just want it the first of every month.
So basically, it's not gonna change anything to do just timing, because usually you'd pay on December 20th for December. Now you're gonna pay December 1st, and January's won't become due to January, so
Correct.
it really doesn't have any bearing on anything.
Exactly. I mean, the only difference is I would be paying before you guys approve it.
Entertain a motion or we could, why couldn't we just, pay them both out of this one, and then you're always approved ahead of it? We could do that too, right?
Right?
Yeah, if we approve June's now, so that it's 1,200 now, and then after that, we just always, so we're always approving it on time, I guess.
Okay.
I think that might be important to do it the right way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's good, Brian. But are we on a contract? Did we sign a contract, and should we change that contract? What's going on?
Well, we have the contract.
Yeah.
It says due the first of the month. We've been paying the way we pay, and I guess they want to take their.
Okay.
I just think it's a little funny after 10 years that they want to change it. So
Yeah, right.
they've been good for us. I guess we use Hampton math. We use Hampton math. We're just catching up. This started way back when, good Lord, who was chair? Maybe Mr. Biddle was chair.
I might have been chair.
You might have been, Nick. It could have been.
Yeah. I didn't want to pay him. I didn't want to pay him at all.
There you go. All he heard was blah, 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 Biddle, blah, blah, blah. Well, 3 years now, will you?
Pay attention, Mike. Pay attention.
You really didn't hear it. No, I didn't. Hoffman Associates. So if Nick started this, we're probably a year ahead. We've been paying Hoffman Associates after this meeting every month. The money is due on the first of the month, according to our contract. They've asked us to catch up, so we're paying on the first of the month. And we said it was funny that after 10 years or so or more, the now actually used to pay on the first of the month. And the comment about Mr. Biddle was, it probably happened when you were the chairman or even before that. It was definitely Kaimano. Okay, good.
Well, we ought to find out if Huffman's going out of business and he needs money.
Yeah. Cool. I'll make the motion, Dave, that we approve the 1,200 for the May 20th and the June 1st, and we go forward from there on the 1st.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and second that, since I had something to do with it.
Don't know what, but
I don't know.
motion by Brian, second by Nick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Remaining vacation time. Ally's anniversary came up, and because she's so busy with getting the ABO report in and spent a lot of time on that, and she got it submitted and catching up, was really a learning process. She ended up the year with 4 extra vacation days, and I think I'd like to pay her for it because she did work a lot of time. It wasn't her fault that she couldn't take the vacation time. It was very busy. So I would entertain a motion to pay her the 4 days vacation time.
Yeah, I'll move it.
By Nick, do I have a second? I'll second that, and happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Sounds like you and Peter Hoffman are getting together here. I don't know what's happening.
Can I just remind everyone that this is being live streamed on YouTube, and also the minutes are verbatim for all the public to see.
Yeah.
Oops.
Actually, with Zoom, I don't know if they need to be verbatim. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Carried. Opposed? Carried. I told you to talk about it. Our position today has been not to consider solar for pilots. I think that we are missing helping Washington County. And I will tell you that I was for not, and our reason for not allowing solar pilots was because they didn't provide jobs. However, I think that the development of Washington County really needs some help, and if we can attract some solar companies to come in at the amount of dollars they're investing in the community, it will eventually help the sales tax. I know most of the communities have opted out from Washington County. There are still some that have opted in, that have not opted out. But we have weird combinations, like the school has not opted out and the town has, and that's Kingsbury and Hudson Falls. So I talked to Kara a little bit about it. Maybe she can help us out. Is that there are different ways to structure solar pilots. So she was going to look into it. I don't know if she has at this point.
Sorry, I haven't pulled all of the different, I've looked at a couple of different IDAs that do this. They have varying formulas, so to speak. Some do it by the output, and I don't have the technical term there, but some do it on a basis just like you currently do with a formula. I pulled a couple, and that's on me. I just haven't had a chance to get all those together, but I will get those to you and Allie, so then you guys can circulate them among the board to review and kind of take a look at what would work best for your board.
Hopefully have some information next week to discuss it. Someone have a question?
Mr. Chairman, this is Jack. I think that it's just as important that some of the solar people that I've been talking with is, while pilot is important to them, the other benefits that the IDA can provide, the H tax elimination and the sales tax. One particular solar company that I was talking with, that they're even proposing to right up front provide host community host benefit packages, etc. So I think there's a lot of flexibility that the IDA can build into some kind of a policy.
Any comments or questions? Discussion? So see what comes up. As I said before, we are putting in some grant applications, and I need approval to submit those grant applications. We are looking at putting in applications for the bridge replacement plus engineering to the site for infrastructure. I think the way the numbers break down, we're putting in for a grant for about $1.1 million for bridge replacement and $400,000 for infrastructure improvements. Laying out mapping out the engineering for sewer, any other natural gas, anything else we can look at for infrastructure. And I think that the total is 1.5. We're looking at applying for $600,000 from MVRC, $600,000 from EDA, and I think it was $300,000 from economic ESD in New York State, Nuclear State Development. So I'd like a motion to approve applying for those.
Hey, one more, just a question. No, I'll second it too, but I have a question.
Yes.
So who's doing the applications? Are we doing that, or are we paying to have it done?
We are, the applications are, two of the applications are being done by the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board.
Okay.
Within the grant, once they get the grant, they will get an amount for administering the grant. They have to MVRC grant because they are Northern Borders district office and representatives, so they have to do that. Then, so there'll be no out of pocket up front to apply for these grants.
Is it a flat pay number, or is it a percentage, or what?
It is a percentage, so they got it broken down. I think administration fees are about $10,000 for EDA and $10,000 for Northern Borders, right around there.
Part of our budget though, right?
Part of the budget, yes.
Yeah,
We all
thank
pay
you.
for a lot of grant funds.
Thank you.
Call the question?
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Deb Roberts was supposed to do delineation. Emailed me last week, said due to personal circumstances, she can't complete the contract. She won't charge us for any work she's done. But now we have to go back and find the delineation, someone do the delineation. And, I think we'll look at, talking to maybe a couple of people out there. CTML does it. I think Chazon does it. So we'll have to go through the process and get out for bids to do that, delineation work. So with the specs and get it going. Okay.
You need a motion, Dave, or no?
Probably need a motion to go out for, estimate on that. I think we only need three, based on the number, I think we only need 3 quotes. On our
I'll make a
policy.
motion to go out for quote.
Motion by Brian, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second it? Oh, Dan seconded it, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carried. Anything else to come before the committee? Motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
that,
So
we
moved.
had spoken and Betty and Dan did.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Bye. Thank you for all your time.
What about the CDC?
What? I can't hear you.
CDC meeting?
Yeah, CDC.
Oh, CDC meeting. Oh, I called the CDC. Well, I did call the CDC meeting to order.
I need a different attendance sheet here. I'm taking attendance again, right?
I called the meeting to order. Okay, and I need approval for the minutes of the last meeting, April 20th. So moved by Brian, do I have a second?
I'll second.
That's right, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the accounts payable.
So moved.
So moved. So moved by Dan, second by Brian. All in favor? Oh, roll call on that, sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
No, roll call. Roll call?
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Michael Biddle,
Yes, ma'am.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Ginny Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Dan Bruno,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. Now motion to adjourn.
Wait, I want to congratulate Craig and Dave for their background on their pictures. It looks beautiful.
I agree. Yours looks pretty good. You had to go further though.
Motion to adjourn.
Must never exceed
Biddle,
50% of the maximum capacity of the space.
Biddle, second by Brian.
Unless it is-
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, thank you for the CDC meeting. I appreciate your help. Have a good day.
Be well, boys and girls.
Well, thanks a lot.